All right, what's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about selling SEO consulting to businesses and what the benefits are of doing consulting over doing like the agency type model. I obviously have done both. I've done both consulting and I've done agency, where the whole benefit of having a consulting business rather than an agency is that you don't have to do any of the fulfillment, which is really nice because then you don't have to be in charge of an ongoing retainer type deal, which can be a downfall if you're looking to make a lot of money monthly. But again, if you're not in charge of the monthly retainer, then you don't have to worry about the client freaking out month 3 that you're not doing enough work or blah blah blah. So we're going to be talking about SEO coaching, so how to coach a business if that's what you want to do. The benefit of one-off services opposed to ongoing retainers. The consulting pricing setup and how you would charge a business to do one-off type services. We're going to be talking about whether or not you should provide white label services to other businesses and why you would end up wanting to help other SEO companies improve their SEO company in terms of helping them scale instead of scaling your own agency, and ongoing consulting retainers if you can set that up and how you would be able to set that up. So first of all, we're going to be discussing why SEO coaching or why SEO consulting. And again, the real reason, I'll tell you guys a little bit about my story. So when I started out, I was doing all implementations. So like I would sell the SEO, I would tell people what they would need based off an audit, and then I would do all the fulfillment. And I wound up getting, I think before I even had anybody helping me, I had like 6 or 7 clients. How many of you guys in chat have more than 5 clients right now for your SEO business? Just out of curiosity. Let me see some ones. Barath has more than 5. Kevin has more than 5. Dominic. So yeah. And then how many of you guys who have more than 5 clients are just doing all the work yourself? Give me a 2. Josh has more than 5. Penny has more than 5. So the idea is that you, at a certain point, are going to have people help you, right? And once you start having people help you, you're going to have to manage them, right? Or have somebody else manage them for you. But either way, if you're doing all the stuff, all the SEO implementations yourself, or any of the marketing implementations yourself, whether you're selling chatbots, whether you're selling landing pages, whether you're selling copywriting, whatever you're selling, at a certain point, you're not going to be able to do all the implementation yourself, right? So you need to start figuring out what is a way that I can start offering services either by an agency model where you're going to be managing people working for you, or by a consulting model, which is where you're going to be just telling them what they need to do and then kind of seeing if the people they have are in the right place for their business to excel, and have those people do the fulfillment and you check in on it. So again, from me going from the SEO agency model, which is what I used to do, right when I hit about 8 clients, I had to expand. I started getting people working for me. I tried hiring overseas. I tried hiring locally. I tried hiring just in the US. I tried pretty much all of it. And the one thing that I kept coming back to is that no matter what, I had to manage people. And I hate managing people. I don't know about you guys, but it just is so annoying for me to have to spend all of my time wondering if these people that I'm hiring are doing the right stuff or not. And obviously, it does help to use the SEO template that we have, which will let you split up the different things that you need to do in phases, like phase 1, 2, 3, 4. But even at that point, you still have to think about how much you're going to have to also deal with the client. Now, the difference between a client that you're doing consulting for versus the client that you're going to be doing retainer agency type model for all the implementations is that when you do consulting for somebody, they generally aren't as tied to you being the result of what they paid for or what you're going to be doing as a result of what they pay for. They're going to be looking for you for more advice. For instance, if you take one of my programs, or if you get on a coaching call with me, or you use my template, you're going to be using that as sort of an outline for your business to do well, but you're not going to blame me if your business doesn't do well for the most part. However, if I'm going in and doing all the implementations for you and it still doesn't work, then you're probably going to start blaming. And that's just how people's mentalities work. So, if you want less liability, then generally you go the consulting route and you make a little bit less money. Well, you can still make the same amount of money. Like I still make the same amount of money now with my consulting as I did within my agency. But the problem is that it's not a ongoing retainer generally. It's usually like a 2 to 3 month thing at the most, where I'm going and helping people build out their team, help build out what they're going to need to do for their website, and then have other people do it. Whereas if you have an agency, you're going to need to hire usually like web designers, content writers, people to do the implementations on the different phases. So those are really the biggest differences between the two, and you want to figure out what you want to do. Now you can do both, right? You could do the agency and the consulting and offer the consulting to people who don't want the implementations. But for the most part, I find that it's better to just pick one thing that you really want to do. Like when I was trying to do both, I was doing the agency and I was doing consulting. It was just hell because some people wanted the services, some people didn't, and so I was constantly like running around trying to help everybody, where it's so much easier just to take one type of client that you want and only help that specific type of client, because then you can build your templates around it, you can build your routines around it, all that kind of stuff, and it makes things a lot easier. Are we all on the same page about this so far, guys? Does everybody get this, what we're talking about? Tommy gets it. Barath gets it. Sweet, Sammy, Justin, Kevin, cool. So let's talk about the main benefits of one-off services. So we talked about the first one, which is that when you're working with one-off services, you are generally not responsible really for the results. I mean, you are responsible. You want the people to perform well. You want to build good case studies. But for the most part, the clients aren't going to be expecting the results from you. And it's always one of my biggest things that I would get annoyed by with the clients that I had back in the day was that, I would do a lot for them implementation wise. We'd spend 10 to 20 hours on their website per month and they would be getting results, but they still weren't happy. And part of this has to do with how you set your expectations with your clients, but the other part of it has to do with certain clients just never really feeling like you're doing anything, even though you are. And I don't know what that is. I think a lot of it has to do with the way they run their businesses and the way they expect results from anybody that's working for them. Because some people just won't ever be happy no matter how much you do for them. So then obviously you want to figure out how to get away from those people, and you have a couple options. One, you can just not get clients like that and make sure you're really upfront about the type of thing that they're going to be getting, which is why we do the 4 phases. It makes things a lot easier for people to understand what they're getting based on deliverables. But 2, the other way is to obviously not offer implementations to people and then just offer more of a consulting approach. So that's really the biggest benefit of the one-off services. The other benefit is that you don't have to be locked in yourself. Like obviously if you're locked into a retainer or they're locked into a retainer, you're going to be on phone calls every month. You're going to be having to respond to all their emails. You're going to have to be responding to everything that's going on with their website. And a lot of times they'll start sending you things that are like irrelevant. Like, oh yeah, my call to action isn't working on my website, and then you're like, well, we're not the web designer or whatever. And that's why when you're a consultant, it's a little bit easier because you don't get those types of emails. People aren't going to be like, well, he's doing my SEO, so he should also be able to do web design, or he's doing my SEO, so he should be able to respond to this Facebook question. And that gets really annoying. Where with consulting, you go, hey, our hour was up, but if you want to schedule this for our next call, we can discuss this and we can have somebody do this for you or get this done. A recent call I had with Roof Repair Squad, which I actually did a little bit of both. So you can do a combination as well. You can do the first month implementations, and then every month after, you offer consulting. And the cool thing about that is you get to get a big retainer the first month, but then afterwards you're not touching the website, and you're just like, hey, somebody else is going to do this from now on. And I actually did this with a website called Roof Repair Squad. They're now ranking number 1 for Houston roof repair, Houston, Texas roof repair. And they originally hit me up. I gave them an audit, 4-phase audit was $800. Then I charged them $1,500 for the implementations. Didn't take too long. And then I gave them another audit, and now they're wanting, it was another audit for 800, so it wound up being like 3,200 total or something like that. And then they actually just hit me back up, and they want a new quote for the consulting that I'll be doing. And then the consulting, what I'm offering them is I'm going to be helping build their team for the people who are going to be doing ongoing implementations for them. Now, obviously, again, I could just get them on a retainer and do all of it myself, but I don't want to have to deal with this client all the time. I would much rather do a one-time setup for them where I go and train somebody for them. They pay that person some lower rate. That way I'm not going and manually changing title tags or manually, doing all the stuff that I don't really think is fun. Whereas I can still get a lot of money from this person by offering ongoing consulting where every like 3 to 6 months I come back, they pay me for another month where I go and check up on their team, help them out, and make sure everything's going well. And they're still paying me, $1,500, $2,000 every couple months, 3 or 4 months. I don't get paid as much specifically from that client, but I do get more freedom to do what I want to do. I don't have to be as responsible for what's going on in their company in the terms of like what they're expecting, in terms of like being on, answering their emails all the time, answering their texts, that kind of stuff. And I also get the ability to work with more people because that way I'm not just tied into one client. The other thing that you want to think about too is that, sometimes when you start with a new website, and I always say this about SEO, SEO is like a gateway drug. So if somebody has no content on their website, then the first thing you're going to want to do is come up with a content marketing / keyword strategy for their website because you can't optimize something that isn't really there. So a lot of the time when you're working with companies, with their small companies, you actually need to bring them from the SEO mindset into other types of marketing. And then that's why consulting is really great because you don't have to just limit yourself to only doing SEO consulting. You go, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this. And that gives you so much more traction when it comes to coming up with more things that you want to end up selling. Because as a consultant, you can keep offering new things, whereas an SEO, agency or whatever they're trying to hire, a lot of the times they're going to just look at you as just the SEO agency, obviously unless you set the expectation differently. But a lot of the time they're going to look at you as the SEO agency and they're going to go, well, we think that you're trying to just upsell this other stuff so you can make more money. Where if you're just doing consulting, it just gives you like something new to sell them every month in a sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but are we kind of on the same page here with what we're talking about? This is exactly what happened with one and only lost client. Ooh, that sucks. Ben there, gets annoying.
Hey, Chase.
Yeah, we got a question. Go ahead.
So first off, I Googled roof repair Houston, and sure enough, on organic, it's just impressive.
Nice. Yeah, it took us a month. It took me a month to do that.
Yeah, man. I was just gonna ask you, how long did that take? Because that's freaking impressive.
Yeah, pretty much all of my local sites. If you look at my local SEO course that I did recently too, I actually do, it's like 11 videos of me going through in a month ranking number 1 in the area that I was in for SEO. But my iPhone repair company, Web Design, back in Santa Barbara, the web design company here that I made, every single, the Houston roof repair, all of them under a month with no link building, no like sketchy, like black hat stuff. It's all just like basic, like, marketing angles that I use that are like more creative and more creative than what you would see with a lot of competitors on Google, and they rank really quickly.
Do you mind sharing about how many times I search per month?
Roof repair Houston, yeah. Let me see if I can go into Ahrefs.
My guy's live, otherwise I'm okay. I listen and learn. And garbage needs to go out too, please.
So just that one variation is 350, but if you start putting in all the semantic variations, you got 700 here, 250 for leak repair. The guy's getting all kinds of leads after we came in, because the thing that wasn't sorry, I keep saying we, it was just me. After I went into his website, it wasn't even just the roof repair keyword that was doing better. It's actually their conversions. They went up by like I think it was more than like 125%. And so they were already blowing up on Google, but now they're just killing it. And so the next thing that we're actually going to be doing, the thing that I was talking about in terms of offering consulting, is that we're going to be here. Let me mute everybody for a second. 1 second. The next thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be going and taking their 60% 60 to 70% bounce rates, and we're going to start implementing some sort of remarketing system like these chat bots to go out and interact with these customers, so we can not even just boost their traffic, but also their returning customer rate, their bounce rate. Because if you think about it, if you have, let's say, sorry, let me get rid of that. Let's say you have, 70% people bounce off your website, and then let's say 100% of your customers never get remarketed to. That's a lot of people that aren't getting remarketed to. And cold traffic these days is super, super bad. Like it's the only thing that most people focus on. So if you can focus on all warm traffic, kind of like I do, you get way more sales. Like it's insane. And that's actually what the next program is going to be about, is how to build these relationships in an automated way.
Hey, Jace.
Yeah.
Another thing that's impressive, the Mac Pack includes them. So it's number 2, at least for me. I know that there are a lot of reasons why search results are different per person, but that's also impressive.
Yep, and we're going to end up trying to rank them for a bunch of national terms as well.
Dang.
Because after you go for local, you actually can continue building out a pretty big audience and engagement, and a lot of cool stuff by building out national rankings. So yeah, that's kind of like how I was able to get the highest rated Google My Business for an SEO consultant, because I currently I don't know anybody else who has anything close to me in terms of like the amount of reviews I do on Google. And the way I was able to do that is just by using like these national tutorials that I do in order to bring in traffic and turn that traffic into opt-ins, which then I turn into reviews.
So another question, I apologize for hogging. I mean, this is impressive. There's so many SEO crappy consultants that say that they do one thing and then they try to rank for a term that's not competitive at all.
Right.
Which is dumb. So you've proven it, and the search results are proving it. I'm curious to know. So you did that in 1 month. How long did it take you to do all those updates?
I mean, I'm really fast. So like once I benchmark everything, I figure out like what their stats are. I mean, then it was maybe 10 hours of work total at the most.
You're kidding me.
No, I mean, even the web design site, I made that in a day and it was ranking in a month. So like, I mean, we're even ranking for like plumbers in San Diego or something. A certain city in San Diego, I forget what it is, but we're like number 1 for that as well. Like I have rankings like everywhere locally, because it's not like local's the easiest thing ever, because all you have to do is just bring in a national authority or bring in engagement to the website, and you end up ranking like locally, because nobody else is going to expand. Like everybody's competing against each other locally, but if you just take your local company and bring it into something national, and then reverse build that national authority into your local authority, you just end up killing it.
Okay, so is that something that I'm new to this? I've been following you, but I've not bought any of your courses. Probably going to change after this. But do you go into detail about how to do that?
Yeah, I mean, the local course is super awesome because it actually shows literally everything I click on.
Okay.
When it comes to here, it's chasereiner.com, chasereiner.teachable.com. It starts with me literally buying the website domain, what content management system I choose and why, how I build out my keywords, how I build my landing pages, how I verify my business, like all that stuff. And it's literally like, it's not like a course where you're like just watching, like somebody talk and it's just like animations and stuff. It's literally like me, it's just a screen share of me just clicking like, okay, I'm going to click on this and I'm going to click on that. That's why I try to make my programs like as unique as possible. This one's really cool too, the SEO for affiliates. I was able to record 17 videos of me or 18 videos of me literally just live over like a 5-month period, clicking through an affiliate website and like adding pages and whatever I did, taking them from 2 visitors a day to 19,000 organic visits a month. And it's like, and they're making like $50,000 a month or something through affiliate sales. So like all these programs are like, I try to be as like over the shoulder as possible.
Okay.
Dave, how long did it take you to write all that content on the Roof Repair Squad?
Well, I don't write the content. I go to a website called Writers Access, and then I do something called casting calls where I have people apply. I just put out a bounty. I'm like, okay, I'll pay like $100 if you can write whatever topic, and then people will apply to that for whatever that bounty is, and then they'll just submit their content, and then I just will give it to a web designer. Like a lot of the stuff too, I don't even like, because I do consulting mainly. I'll just give the content over to somebody else, and then the person will go and design the page for that based on how I want them to lay it out.
Damn, I see. So you pay about like $100 a page, or was that?
I can show you. So like a lot of the content too, because it was duplicated, we had to rewrite the content because otherwise, that's why it wound up ranking higher, is because they were, a lot of the times you'll find with websites that they'll have just all this internal duplicate content, or they'll have external duplicate content on their websites. So once we started rewriting all the like home pages and stuff, it started doing way better. Like this page, homepage rewrite was $42.
So how does that price? How is that set? Did you set that bounty?
Yeah, so you can set the bounty. Like the worst way to do it is to say, oh, I'm gonna pay like $150, and like you just pay somebody based on the cost they have. The better way to do it is you do a place order. You put a bounty of like however much, and then people will apply to it, and then you choose based on the people who apply for it.
Okay.
And you are the one that's telling them what content to find, because again, this website, it's got a good amount of pages. And for the most part, the images are different.
Right. So, and that's why, again, as a consultant, it's easier because you can have these people who are going to, because the thing is when people will pay you as an agency, they generally will pay cheaper. Like they're going to be like, okay, I'll pay $2,500 and I want SEO, I want web design, I want all the stuff that is required to make a website work. Whereas you're usually just selling like SEO or like one thing at a time. Whereas if you do consulting, it's a lot easier because then you have, okay, I'm going to sell you SEO consulting, but then you need to go hire your own web designer, you need to go hire your own content writer or whatever they're doing, or you're going to go set up the team for them and then they pay you for that setup. But that way you're working with other people that like when they get the content, then it's the business owner that's in charge of working with that person. Whereas when you're in an agency, it's just like you're running around trying to talk to everybody, making sure the client's happy, making sure the web designer's happy, making sure all this stuff's going on, and it just gets nuts. But if you're good, like, Ruan Marino, he has a successful SEO agency with a bunch of clients, and he loves doing that stuff. He wakes up at 4 a.m. every day and works till like 6 p.m. I wake up at like 10 a.m. and I work till like 2, and then I go rock climbing and I hang out with my girlfriend and watch movies for the rest of the day. Like I work like maybe 3 hours a day, and I make like $20,000 a month. And I mean, I could make a lot more. Like when I was running my agency, I was making like $60K a month, but at a certain point, it's like, what do you want? And for me, it's like, I don't need that much money to be happy.
Dang. This is wild. I'll admit I came in pretty skeptical because unfortunately for every chase, there's a bunch of, I would say like 20, 30, maybe 40 crappy SEO consultants who are just swarming. It's probably the best way to put it.
I mean, it's like that with anybody in general. It just comes down to like how good you are at, treating the people around you. Because like I was in the position before where I had shitty clients, but it was because I was building shitty relationships and I was being not a very good It's funny because people are always like, oh, I want a good client, but it's like, okay, well then you have to be a good business owner or a good marketer. You have to be good at building relationships. That aren't going to be where you're just only in that relationship to make money. It's funny, this tax guy that I just got, or that I've had for the last year, he's just been totally screwing me over. And, you can obviously tell that he doesn't care about how my business is doing. because all he wants is like, hey, just pay me the money, like pay me the money, and I'll do this thing for you. But then if I don't pay him money in a certain amount of time, he just stops talking to me. And so because he's objectifying me in the sense where it's like he just wants money from me as me being his client, then I have to like in a sense objectify him and be like, all right, well, where's my stuff? And it's like we're never actually having a conversation that doesn't involve something like an end goal, like money or like some sort of deliverable. Whereas if this guy was like there for me when it wasn't just about the money, or if he like actually cared about my business and I could tell that, then I would be treating him a lot differently as well. So it's, you know, and you can't always be in reaction mode. Like, you know, I try to take the higher ground, but for the most part, you have to try to build the relationships you want. And, you know, you're not always going to find, you know, 95% of people are not going to lead with that example. They're just going to be reacting to what other people are doing, which is why a lot of people will end up, you know, following the route that everybody else does. You know, they'll create a webinar, they'll create a course, they'll create some sort of thing, but there'll be nothing there. They're just copying what everybody else is doing. And so everybody ends up getting a bad persona because the bar is set so low. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, that makes sense.
you know, at the end of the day, you want to really focus on being as transparent as possible and really be good at, you know, building a community of people that want to be around you. Because I've had a lot of these results for years. Like I ranked my iPhone repair site in under a month, like 3 years ago on Google, and nobody cared. But it's because I was constantly trying to impress everybody, be like, oh, look how good I am, look how good I am. So nobody wanted to be around me. They just thought I was like a shitty person, which I kind of was. Whereas now I'm like nonchalant about it. Like, yeah, I'm ranking for this. Like I'm like the #1 guy on Google, like blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it's a lot more impressive to people. A lot more people want to opt into that relationship because it's one thing to be good at something, but it's another thing to be good at something and still be a good person while you're being good at it, right? All right, guys, so let's continue. Do we have any other questions in here before I continue on? Sorry, I can't really read back through chat. There's a lot there. So if you have any questions and I missed it, just go ahead and let me know.
I have one
Yeah.
question about an exact match domain. Is that off topic?
Yeah, for anything that's really specific, that's not in regards to SEO consulting, which is the topic of today, I'll answer that at the end.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about the pricing setup you're going to want to have if you're going to be selling consulting. So, as you guys know from some of the other videos, the way I set up SEO packages, like for the agency model, is I'll have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. We start out with a $500 to $800 audit after getting people into the phase 1 audit for free. And then the $500 to $800 audit, depending on your supply and demand, how many people are wanting your service, is what you're going to be charging for the other 3 phases. And again, the 4 phases, if you guys can't remember, is phase 1, site-wide audit. All the things that are be affecting the site from a foundation perspective, like page speed, SSL, indexation, right? Anything that's be affecting the whole website as a whole, content, duplicate content. Phase 2, which is the individual pages, going through and looking at each page based on an analytics level, so click-through rates, bounce rates, conversion rates, so on and so on. Phase 3, which is looking at their current content and what their topics are that they're targeting, whether or not they're in a clear direction for a content strategy, whether they even have a content strategy, a budget for content, what is their long-term goal in terms of what type of content they're targeting, local or national. And then phase 4, which is their authority game plan and their engagement strategy, as well as their remarketing strategy. So how are they going to continue to retain their customers? How are they going to go and get new customers by making sure that they don't have huge bounce rates and no free opt-ins, making sure their whole funnel process is set up. So that's the agency model. So you're offering the 4 phases for $500 to $800, and then you're doing the implementations over the next 3 to 6 months for about $1,500 to $2,500 a month. Again, depending on how much work needs to be done, and also how many people are actually contacting you at that time. If you guys don't know this whole process, I would recommend you go check out the other program, which is the how to make a full-time income doing SEO audits. We go into a lot more detail about this process. So if you don't know what I'm talking about with all these 4 phases, it looks like the program right now is still $297. I'm actually going to probably raise that up in a couple of days because that is way lower than it should be. That's the pre-sale price. But if you guys get it pretty soon, you can go check it out, which will teach you that whole process. But the consulting approach is a little bit different. You're still going to, let me just draw it out so you guys can see this. Is this making sense so far? Are we all on the same page here? Let me get some ones if we're all good. If I need to go back and say anything, let me know. Christopher's good. Kevin's good. Anson's good. Dominic, we're all good. Cool. Sweet. All right. So consulting's a little bit different. So with the consulting process, you're still going to try to bring people in with some sort of free value, right? You're obviously, your first step is to even come up with a content strategy. If you have no content going out every day, like you have no, videos, no text, no images, you're not even meeting the baseline requirement. And I'm not just talking about for your clients' companies, I'm talking about for your own company. If you're working, with a client or you're thinking about, what's the first thing I need to do in my own company, and you're in the marketing space, which all of you, if you guys do SEO, you're in the marketing space. If you don't even do any of this, or the client's like, oh, I don't have the budget or whatever, then you're basically getting into a gunfight with no ammunition, right? There's let's say there's 5 people ready to beat you in a gunfight because all of them are doing marketing, and you're walking up and you have no ammo. So actually, hold on. This is actually walking to a gunfight and having no gun, right? So you don't even have the ammo yet. So this is the gun that you don't have if you're not doing it. And then the ammo is the opt-in. So if you're not bringing people in with some sort of opt-in, then you have no ammo. So think about that. How many of you guys have no gun and no opt-ins, which means no ammo? Because if you're not building relationships every day, then there's literally no way for you to make money unless you get some sort of magic traffic. Like let's say you magically rank for something organically or whatever happens. Even if that happens, if there's no opt-ins, there's nothing for people. You could have some sort of sale, but for the most part, your conversion rates are going to be so low because all the traffic's cold. That's not marketing. That's not a sustainable strategy. That's just hopefully I'll make some money and then survive for the next however long. So you don't want to have no guns, no bullets, right? It's terrible. Terrible idea for your company, terrible idea for your clients. So this is the base requirements for anything. If you don't have any of this stuff, you just need to go back to the drawing board. This is the very first thing you need to do for any marketing strategy. You need some sort of content, you need some sort of opt-in. And I'm not talking about sales, I'm not talking about you have to have some sort of sales page. You need to have something that people can opt into for free for a relationship. You'll see a lot of people that'll go, oh, join my newsletter. Don't do that. Do something join my freaking Facebook group or something. That's a lot more appealing. All right, so next thing you're gonna do. So this is the consulting route, right? So we got we got some sort of video, we got some sort of opt-in. People are opting into our relationships. We're messaging them. We're doing videos like this where people are coming on and you're saying, hey, let me get some ones in chat, right? You want to get people interested. You want to get people engaged. Once you do that, then you can bring them to the low barrier to entry. What's your low barrier to entry? So your low barrier to entry is going to be whatever the thing is that you sell for the least. Now you have to poll your audience. You have to see how much they're willing to pay. I will ask you guys right now, how much are most of you guys willing to pay for a SEO course? Just tell me in chat. Just give me some numbers because this is a pretty good example. 5K? Holy cow. Okay, we need to get on the phone after this. I'm just kidding. Christopher spent 3K, but Christopher, you also got coaching, so that's a little bit different. But yeah. I'm talking about the minimum you would be willing to pay, not the maximum, because you guys are giving me some big numbers right now. You guys are giving me too much credit. $100, cool. $100, $400. Now the reason why I'm bringing this up right now is because you want to figure out what your audience is going to pay. If you have an audience that's a lot younger, let's say your audience is 15 to 25, then a lot of them are only going to be able to afford a $45 course or something. Now, the more niche down you get, the more technical you get, people are willing to usually pay more. But the more top of the funnel, more general you get, people are usually willing to pay less. So you have to figure out what people are willing to pay the least for. Now, how do you figure out what people are willing to pay for, how much they're willing to pay? You get them to opt into a relationship with you. You get them to opt in, and then you do a question, just like the one we just did, right? We just asked people. People are usually willing to tell you, if they trust you, how much they'd be willing to spend with you. So then you figure out, okay, I'm gonna, they want, let's say the minimum they're willing to spend about $297. I know that's a really good price point. I've done some A/B testing. That's why most of my programs are $297 when I pre-sale them, because most people are willing to pay that. When I start going over that, they stop buying as much. When they go under that, they also stop buying as much. I don't know why. I don't know why when the price is higher sometimes people will buy more, but it's usually based on the value they perceive it as. But I've done all types of different tests, and this is what I figured out. Now, once you figure that out, what they're willing to pay, at the next point, what you do is you figure out, okay, what is the most they'd be willing to pay? So if you guys were to get like everything from me, let's say you were to get like some crazy, 3-month coaching with me, I go fly out to see you, we go, do like some sort of meditation thing, like what would you be willing to pay for like the maximum thing that I could offer you? And obviously I have to put that together, but just give me an idea. And the reason why I asked that again is because when you figure out what people are the maximum they're willing to pay, then what's going to happen is you're going to create that. This is just all this is just how much they trust you, right? So if we go back to the very top here, boom. And I can tell you a lot of people that, have bought from me, they've gone up here. They've gotten up to a $3,000 purchase, whether it's an SEO client or whether it's an SEO consulting or whether it's an SEO coaching, whatever it is. Now, why is it that, some people will leave here, they'll drop off here? Or let's say some people drop off here, right? They drop off at these different points. The reason why they drop off is because if you're not spending your time slowly building people through this funnel, then what's going to happen is they're going to stop trusting you. They're going to see that you're only in it for this end goal over here. And then they're going to be like, you know what, I'm not interested anymore. I'm done. Or they're gonna drop off here. But the more easily you can build a relationship up this funnel and not care about the end result and just focus on being good at each level, I mean, you're gonna do well. And I know this is basic advice, but here's what I'm trying to say. With the consulting, you want to first figure out what is your content strategy. You want to start getting people to opt in, and then you want to figure out, based on your supply and demand and your current audience, what is the ideal thing that they'd be willing to pay for. Maybe they'd pay $297 for, one-time coaching call. Maybe they would, this is my funnel, right? I usually get people in on like a one-time coaching call for $297, or I get them into a program for $297. And then in those programs, just like you're seeing on this one, I will then upsell to the $3,000 thing. Now, I haven't spent a lot of time, besides the SEO certification that I had, creating this $3,000 option. And the reason for that is because, it takes time to build out each of these things. It takes time to figure out what your video strategy is. It takes time to figure out what your opt-in strategy is. It takes time to figure out what your ideal low ticket item is, what your high ticket item is. So you want to work on each of these things. And the way you work on these things is you start building out outlines for what these look like. What is your ideal content strategy for video? Again, once you start getting people in, you just start asking them. You go, hey, what guys in chat, what do you like? Watch, I'll ask you right now. Do you guys like the review videos that I've been doing with, like Josh Brzezinski? How many of you guys saw that? If you like those types of videos, give me a 1 in chat. If you want me to keep doing those types of things. And so when people start responding to you and telling you what they want, and you start seeing like, oh, wow, this video got 1.3 thousand views, or this video only got 400. Where do you think you should be spending your time? Doing the thing that people don't like or the thing that people do like? Same thing with whenever you build any of this stuff out. And the cool thing that you can do is you can do something called a smoke screen. Now, this is a really valuable technique. How many of you guys know what a smoke screen is? Let me get a 1 in chat if you know what smoke screen is. The smoke screen technique. Because I've been doing this for years. A lot of people don't even know I do it. Does anybody know what smoke screening is? Anyone? WatchTech doesn't. Vincent doesn't. It's okay if you don't know. Don't know. Okay, so nobody really knows what the smoke screen is. Some drug-related innuendo. Okay, so here's what it is. Smoke screening is basically, let's say you wanted to start selling SEO audits, and your SEO audits were, $297, right? Now, let's say you have a big audience over here. Let's say you've been doing what I'm talking about, and you right now have, over 200 people on your ManyChat. You got a few people on your texting. Let's say you got 20 people on text, and you got 100 people on email. So these people have been hopefully hearing from you all month, and you've been sending them like, hey, what's going on, guys? Just want to know if you have any questions. You've been answering questions. You've been helping them out, and so now they're like pretty happy with you. And let's say at the end of the month, you create an offer. You do a little webinar. You go, hey guys, something like this. You're like, hey, I just wanted to tell you some advice about, the importance of SEO audits. And then you offer them an SEO audit for $297. Okay. So at this point, shoot, what the heck was I thinking? Oh yeah, smoke screening. At this point, you could already have a sales button for this. So let's say you get off this webinar, or let's say I was telling you all right now, I'm like, by the way, guys, go to chaserunner.com/get SEO audit now, or something probably smaller than that, like just SEO audit. So if I told you guys all right now, go to this URL, get SEO audit now, and you'll find a button that says, $297. Whoever gets that right now, first 3 people gets the offer that I'm giving away for $297. I usually do audits for $2,000. You can go get it right now, but it's only for the first 3 people. People might actually be going and looking for this right now. This isn't a real page, but the reason why I say this is because people are going to want to opt in if they build a relationship with you. And if you get enough people buying this, let's say you only needed 5 people to buy this in order for you to profit from doing this. Whether it's a program, whether it's chaserunner.com/get SEO audit or /get SEO course or /get SEO consulting or whatever you're selling. The cool thing about the smoke screen is you can sell whatever you want, and if enough people buy it, then you build it. You go, hey, this will be available in a week, or this will be whatever. And a lot of people will do that because they get some sort of limited availability. That's why you offer the people who you're relationships with, you go, hey, look, there's only 5 spaces available for this. So if you want this, you got to go to this link right now and go get it. A lot of people, because again, they're in that relationship with you the way that we're talking about. So the point I'm trying to make is that when you're selling consulting or when you're selling anything, it doesn't matter how you price it. You don't have to price it like me. Everybody's worried about the optimal package setup or the optimal SEO service package or whatever it is. And the truth is that the optimal package is the one that the people you're in the relationship with tell you they want. So stop copying other people and be like, oh, the Hoth or something, they sell the, link package for $500, so I could do that. No, stop doing that, because their audience is a lot different than yours. Their authority is a lot different than yours. The situation they're in is a lot different than yours. So instead of trying to go and copy them, and instead of going and trying to reinvent the wheel and just being like the visionary and be like, everybody's going to want this $1,000 package because I, had a dream about it. No, just go and ask people. That's why building the relationships is so important in the first place. Does this make sense to everybody? Does everybody get what I'm talking about? Let me get some ones if we're on the same page here. We got some ones. We got 100 from Dominic. That's pretty good. Chad's a 1. Tanya's a 1. Sweet. So let's discuss really quick why you would want to end up selling SEO consulting to other SEO companies. Sometimes people will hit me up and they'll be like, hey man, I have an SEO company. Can you audit it? And then other people will be watching that and they'll be like, dude, why would you SEO audit an SEO company? Or why would an SEO company want an SEO audit from you? Now, if somebody is another SEO company and you're making fun of them because they want your help, you got a problem. Because anytime another SEO hits you up, which I get SEO people hit me up all the time, and I'm not like, hey dude, why are you hitting me up? You're supposed to know SEO, right? No, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm like, hey, you obviously need help because you're asking me for help. I'm going to sell to you just like I would anybody else. I'm not worried about building somebody else's SEO company. Why would I be worried about building somebody else's SEO company? Because for the most part, if you're offering them general advice, then yes, you're probably going to want to worry about them competing with you if you're in a general advice industry. But if you're offering them actually good marketing advice and understand the way relationships work and the way niching down works and the way you do hyper targeting and you slowly expand from there, then there's nothing to worry about. Like, for instance, I'm not worried about competing with Ron Marino because he's running an agency. I'm not. If we were both agencies and we both targeted the exact same type of customer, like local HVAC companies, then obviously I'm not going to give him advice. But for the most part, people are so bad at niching down that, like, all you have to do is go on the call and be like, hey, niche down, start building relationships, start doing all the stuff we talked about in this video, and they're not going to be in competition with you. For example, this guy Roy, who I've been coaching, he's doing Shopify SEO. But when he first started, he was doing like local SEO, national SEO. He was doing any SEO he could in order to make money, which is what most everybody's doing. They're only just trying to figure out how they can make money, figuring out how to make money is important, but it's not the way you should be spending your time on the internet. Like, if you're spending all your time thinking about how to make money, then you're just constantly distracted by all the shiny objects and the Google updates and all this stuff. If you're actually concerned about building relationships and niching down and really focusing on what you're good at, then none of that stuff applies to you. And that's really all it is. Like, anytime anybody's like, oh, I need help with my SEO company, it just gives you the opportunity to help that person niche down more and not compete with you if you're in a general industry. But for the most part, people can't even do general targeting well until they're people like Neil Patel or until they're people like Brian Dean. These people can do very general targeting because they have very wide top of the funnel audiences. But when they first started out down here at very specific levels, they had none of that. They had no authority, and there was no way they were going to be able to target these huge audiences. So that's kind of how it works. Cool. All right, so let's go on to the next one. Do we have any questions before we go on the next one? Does anybody want to... oh, what's up, Chet? Does anybody want to... I'm going to unmute everybody if anybody wants to ask some questions. And if you're not in the Zoom call, I'm going to put the link in chat really quick so you guys can join. All right, everybody's unmuted. If any of you want to ask a question over voice, you can ask whatever you want. It doesn't have to apply to anything. Any questions? Holy cow, Kevin just purchased the full-time income selling SEO audits and the local SEO course. That's a total of $800. You know what, Kevin? For that, I'm also going to throw in an extra course of your choice. And if you ever want to give me a call too, let me know.
Okay, I have a question.
Yep, go ahead.
So I have this client, and from what it seems like, he needs 9 websites.
9 websites, okay.
They're small sites, so maybe they're 5 pages each. But all of the pages are filled with a lot of content. How would you go about charging for that?
So he needs 9 websites, 5
individually.
pages each, and you're asking me what I would charge this person.
Or how would you go about it? Like, you specifically, because I have my way of doing it, because I've done it for him before with, like, I think 9 other sites. So he needs 9 more. But how would you go about doing it?
First thing I would figure out is, what is your current standing with how much money he's paid you? So has he already paid you a certain amount of money?
Yeah, he paid for those other ones.
And was it a lot? Was it a little?
It was a few thousand.
Okay, so if he's already paid you for other websites, then you're basically doing the same thing. Why not just charge the same thing?
Well, see, the other ones we cloned. So I have a cloner that can clone sites. So we just did a clone over, and then I went in and my partner went in and we just did the on-page SEO and did all the optimizations. But with these new sites, we're building them from scratch.
Does he know you cloned the other ones?
Yes.
So then if he knows you cloned the other ones and it's going to be a lot more work for you to do these new ones, then you would just figure out what your hourly rate would be and then just...
So he texted me back, not a full presentation. I estimate 60 minutes of core functionality. any time today or tomorrow works for us. And then he said, I mean, Q&A is not sure where core functionality came from. Okay, so like, not really like a major presentation. You want me to call him and like conference in?
He's on the phone.
No, I mean just to talk to him to see what they want.
Okay, Chase, I got a question.
Wait, what is happening right now?
I think
Don't
he's
go
on
on
the
the phone.
phone. He needs to be muted.
Okay, who is this guy?
Ed.
Okay, I just muted him. So I thought that was part of the question. I'm like, wait, is this guy with you?
No, he's
Yeah.
not.
Sorry about
Okay,
that.
So my question is in regards to roof repair squad again. And so on your roof replacement page or I guess your residential page and your commercial page, like you don't have a ton of content. Like there isn't big long paragraphs. How are you ranking in that? And like what would you recommend for building out service pages?
Yeah, so a lot of his pages actually aren't complete. I can show you what his roadmap looks like. So if you look at his current roadmap, let me just give you a glimpse into this. Roof repair. So this is the 4-phase audit checklist. So if you look at his phase 3, which is his keyword research, a lot of these pages haven't been built. And the reason for that is because, I told him, I'm like, look, I'm going to build a couple of these pages for you. I'm going to order the content, but I'm just giving you an example of what to do. He still has to add a lot of content to his website.
So he still has to do this, or is he going to pay you to do it?
No, he actually just messaged me because he wanted to get a quote about how much it would be for me to train somebody, because he wants me to do it. He said he'll pay a premium for me to do this every month for him. But the thing is, if you look at how much it costs to have somebody go and design and order the content, whatever it has to do for these pages, it breaks down to like maybe an $8 an hour job, like pretty simple, because all of it's pretty templatized.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to go, the thing that you have to really think about, or most people don't think about, is that if you're going to be doing a $8 an hour job, you are now an $8 an hour person. And so anytime somebody's like, hey, well, I'll pay you $3,000 for this, the problem with that is it's not sustainable, because at some point they're going to go, wow, I'm paying this guy way too much money. And you're going to know it too. You're going to be like, yeah, this person's paying me too much money for this. So I would much rather either hire somebody at $8 an hour to do it for me and then just train that person, and then I get paid for my knowledge for training that person, or train somebody for them to work and have them do it, which is what I'm going to do. But I just have to quote how much it would cost for me to train somebody to do this.
So how would you find somebody for $8 an hour to write content all day long?
No. So what you do is you because again, so the more things somebody has to know, the more you have to pay them, right?
Okay.
So like if somebody has to know web design, content writing, all this stuff, then that's like a $50 an hour person. If the $8 an hour person only has to know how to order content off Writer's Access, add it to a web page that already has a template on there, and add a couple images, they're now an $8 an hour person.
Oh,
And you're still getting the exact same job done that they're asking you to do for like $3,000 a month or whatever you're charging them. But at least then you're not spending all your time being that, like, because again, if I'm spending all my time doing that, then all of the time that I could be doing more productive things, like, these types of webinars where all the money is actually made, then, that's not good, because I don't want to be the person who's behind the scenes changing title tags. I mean, I did when I first started, and I don't think that's a bad thing. If you're starting out and you want to do SEO full time, go ahead. I did that for like 4 years. But at a certain point, you have to figure out, okay, well, now that I know all this stuff, how can I be more efficient at making money at the things that don't require manual, just like clicking on things. It all comes down to systemization. Like you look at McDonald's, one person lays the patty, one person lays the lettuce, one person lays the bun. If you're doing all of that yourself, like instead of like going out and figuring out which place would be the next good place to put a McDonald's, that kind of stuff, like you're losing so much money, because all of the knowledge that you have, you're just wasting on like literally manually putting lettuce down on buns and stuff.
okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Any questions before we head on to the next one?
Can you hear me, brother?
Yep. Hey, actually, guys, just raise your hand. There's a little raise your hand thing that you can do in here.
Raise your hand thing.
There we go. Okay, Vincent, go ahead.
No, I was just doing it. For the,
Oh, he just raised his hand. Okay. Does everybody know how to raise their hand? Give me a 2 if you don't, because I can show
I
you.
don't.
Okay, so
But bro, I just having problems with my meta description.
okay.
Like my website doesn't. I mean, in the search it doesn't show what I put on my plugin.
Oh
That's
yeah,
why-
that's actually really common. So just
Okay.
because you put a meta description doesn't mean Google's going to take it. A lot of the time, Google will actually take other things on your page depending on what they think is relevant to the user. The title tag's a lot more guaranteed than the meta description to be pulled, but even then, it's not likely. What I used to do sometimes is I would actually figure out what Google was pulling as a meta description, and then I would copy that and then change that to the meta description.
Oh, I see.
Interesting.
I see, but I have like a description on my business that says, something, and that's what I did. I saw that it was taking some keywords or some words from this test that I have on my site, and I fix it, like in a way that I hit those words.
Okay.
Like I put, that's I already tried that, but I just wonder what the hell doesn't show what I put on Joe's.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Again, like sometimes, Google doesn't pull that stuff. So, you're kind of just rolling the dice on whether or not it's going to get picked up. But it doesn't mean that it's like a bad ranking signal or anything.
Oh,
Doesn't that mean it's dynamic? It's all dynamic now.
Yeah, a lot of it is, but it's been that way for like a year now. So it's not something I would worry about, honestly.
I mean, it started happening to me with the new update.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what happened.
I mean, I would just focus on, again, like the, stuff we're talking about, which is more about like just creating a good branding marketing strategy. And then the whole meta description like thing is like pretty low in terms of how much it actually affects your sales.
I mean, doesn't affecting my sales. It's affecting my position on the search, because I don't even see my website now. But I know it's bouncing around because I just put some new content and I fix the instruction of it. So I know it's bouncing up and down a little bit. It's just like a week.
Yeah, I wouldn't
mean,
expect
like-
that to be the meta description though.
Do you use Search Console?
Yes.
Hey.
Analytic.
I'm gonna move on to the next question. Sorry about that, Arturo.
No
Hey,
problem,
Dominic,
brother. Go ahead.
check your private messages.
All right, Tony. Let's see what you got. You got a question?
Yeah, so one thing that I'm wondering, that I wanted your expertise on is how is it that you're outranking all these competitors? Because I see all your results with Web Design Santa Barbara, iPhone Repair Santa Barbara, all these sites like the Houston Roof Repair site. And I know you don't do link building. So how is it that you can rank so much better than everybody else when, like, what's the big difference there is basically what I'm kind of wondering.
I mean, again, like local's super easy when you stop only thinking about local. So
Right.
like if you're trying to rank for, let's say, real estate, the first thing I'm going to do is obviously build the website. But the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go start creating content targeting a national audience so I can start bringing in authority from that audience, whether it's reviews, whether it's comments, whether it's user-generated signals, people searching my brand. That's exactly what Rowan Marino talks about too. He just ranked #1 for like dental something Miami, dental implants Miami, and his client was paying him like $10,000 per keyword he ranked. He just made a shit ton of money from it. And he just kept doing YouTube videos about it. Like his secret sauce was that he just kept doing YouTube videos about it and then sending traffic to that website. It started ranking super well. Neil Patel does this. You have all kinds of people who do this. Because again, you think about what is the most relevant thing these days, and it has to do with transparency, engagement, authority, brand signals, social signals, all this stuff around links and all the things that people used to use are so heavily manipulated that Google doesn't care about them anymore.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So, follow-up question is, one of the things I struggle with is content creation nationally because there is so much competition, especially in the SEO field. So how do you, because pretty much everything I'm trying to target has already been made, and it's rare that I find something that I can actually make that's better or different to a point where it could rank in, the first page. So what do you have to say about that?
So it's actually very true. Like, unless you're getting brand new into something that's like just booming, like for instance when fidget spinners came out, chances are you're not going to be able to like reinvent any sort of like new angle, because there's just so much content. And that's sort of the big problem right now, and this is what you have to look at, is that because content is so heavily expanding, there's so much content now, and it's just going to keep growing every year. It doubles. You want to think, well, what is my strategy around that? Because obviously, it's just noise at this point. And the real idea behind this is that you don't take your opinion and start spending all your time focusing on what you think is going to work for you. You look at what the thing is you're niching down to, because you have to niche down to something. If you don't, you're going to get lost in the noise. If you're one person that does everything, then you're just going to be like everybody else. So once you niche down, then you have to figure out what is the person that's next to you doing well, and how can you create content in a similar way that brings an engagement like they are. The biggest sign that something is working is based on how well the engagement is on it. Traffic alone and cold traffic is not a great sign of gauging whether or not content's working anymore. You want to have people opting in to whatever you're giving away for free, and you want people engaging continually with whatever value you're pushing. So like whether I'm doing webinars, whether I'm doing YouTube videos, whether I'm doing many chat messages, whether I'm doing email marketing, whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm spending my time, if that doesn't bring me consistent engagement and consistent opt-ins, meaning people opting into a relationship with me that I can continually control that traffic that I'm building, then I'm wasting my time. Like if I'm just focusing on like ranking for a keyword, I'm wasting my time these days.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Anybody else? Any hands? We good? We want to move on to the next one? If you want to move on to the next one, let me get a 1. Because next one we're going to be talking about analytics and SEO tools. What's up, Craig? Oh, Craig has a question. Chase, how do you connect ManyChat to our Facebook group? You don't. You just get people to opt in for something, and then when they message you for that something, then they're opted into ManyChat. If you haven't watched the authority hacking program, by the way, I talk about how I'm able to, because a lot of people want to know, they're like, well, Chase, how do you bring in all these authority metrics? How do you control your traffic? One of my best selling courses I've ever had is this authority hacking program. And I go through how I go and I set up these ways of bringing people into the funnel by offering them value and then getting them to go engage with whatever I'm trying to rank automatically with robots. I mean, it's pretty dope. So I would definitely check out this program if you haven't seen it already. All right, everybody's ready, I think, to get into the next part. All right, this will probably be the last one we'll do today, but we're gonna make it good. All right. Sorry, I got people messaging me. Here we go. Okay, so this is, what is this? 9? Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. So this is a little bit more technical, but I think it'll still be worth going over. All right, guys, welcome back. We're going to be talking about understanding analytics and SEO tools. So specifically, we're going to be talking about learning the basics to Google Analytics, Google Search Console, which is very important if you don't know this stuff. A lot of you probably do, but we're just going to quickly go over what you want to know about. Understanding the most important SEO tools and how to use them. And just to give you a quick disclaimer, the most important SEO tool is the one that you don't have to pay for, which is your own mind. SEO tools are only supposed to give you a small benefit. They're not supposed to be like you have 50 different SEO tools and that's how you run your marketing strategy. That's a terrible idea. If you're running your marketing strategy with 50 different SEO tools, you're actually not doing marketing. You're buying somebody else's marketing. Becoming proficient using Screaming Frog for SEO audits. Utilizing one of the few SEO tools I use, which is Ahrefs for competitor research and figuring out your topics. And learning which tools not to buy, which is pretty much anything that isn't Screaming Frog or Ahrefs. And how to get away from the things that are going to be sucking all the money from you. Cool, so let's get into it. So first thing we got to talk about is Google Analytics, Google Search Console. So I'm going to run through this pretty fast. If you guys watch this and I'm going too fast, let me know. But ideally this should be pretty straightforward. So let's go into analytics first and just talk about the most necessary things that you need to look at. So here's my website. First of all, before you do anything, you want to head over to admin. Why? Because, and I'm assuming you guys already know how to set up Google Analytics. I'm not going to be doing the other course I have, which is beginner to advanced SEO course, because in there we talk about like doing basic stuff like setting up your analytics. If you don't know how to do that, go take that other program, which like talks about, you know, how to go into GoDaddy and buy a domain. That's like, it goes through really basic stuff. It's like 15 videos, but it's really important if you don't know how to do like this kind of stuff. Like, so I'm just assuming that you guys kind of know the basics. So once you do that, you're going to go to admin and you want to make sure you have your goals set up. Now in your website, you want to have two different types of goals. You want to have your free opt-in goal, then you want to have some sort of sale goal, and then you want to have some sort of request a audit or request a consultation goal. Now, these are going to depend heavily based on what you're promoting the most. So if I promote an audit, I'm going to get a lot higher conversions. If I promote sales, I'm going to get a lot more sales. The reason why my sales are at 0 here is because I have been sending my traffic to Teachable, which I have a Facebook pixel tracking that. But I probably should integrate it with my website at some point. Don't judge me. But before the most, no matter what, if you could just do one goal, track your opt-ins. And what I mean by opt-ins is track the things that are building relationships. All of these opt-ins right here, this is 491 people opting in to a relationship with me. And what I mean by that is all these people who are clicking out to ManyChat are people that I'm getting to have the ability to remarket to them. So when I track this, I want to make sure that, you know, this is set up correctly. You can see my outbound click to ManyChat destination is right here. This goes to ManyChat. So anytime somebody clicks, it goes over there. Now, I don't have a monetary value sign because it's not specific to me. But when I go and check out my individual landing pages, because let me just explain this to you really quick. Once you have this set up and you go to your individual landing pages, you go to behavior, site content, landing pages, you can actually see how these pages are converting. So if I look at the outbound click to ManyChat, we can see it's apparently somehow 100%. I don't know how that's true. Let me go to all pages. Maybe that'll work better. 26% conversion rate. Maybe it's true. I don't know. Maybe I get that many outbound clicks. Something weird's going on there. But if I know for like individual pages, let's say this one, 5% conversion rate, 8%. You want to make sure your top pages have above 3% conversion rates for whatever opt-in you're giving away. And just to give you guys an idea, if your top 10 pages have no opt-in, then you're really doing something wrong. Like if you go to your top 10 pages on your website, and by top 10 I mean the highest traffic pages, or you go to the top 10 videos on your YouTube channel, or your top 10 posts on Facebook, whatever it is, and all those things are getting traffic and none of them have opt-ins, like you see here, it looks like it says, watch, let's say it said a 0% conversion rate. That means you're getting 0 people to opt into a relationship with you per month. And if you're getting 0 people to opt into your relationship with you, that means basically all of your traffic is just doing this. Ready? It's just going, here's all your traffic. Here it is. Here it all is for the month. And then boom. It's never coming back. Like it might come back, like maybe one person, maybe a little of this. But all that traffic that hit whatever you're doing, it's just gone. So you want to think about, okay, well, why am I getting traffic in the first place? Obviously, I want to make sales. But as I keep telling you, cold traffic is dead. Like, if you're only focusing on cold traffic, that's maybe like down here. Like out of all the people who are coming in, warm traffic, maybe like one sale. And then everything else is gone, and all the marketing you did, all the SEO you did is for absolutely nothing. So it's super important that, when you're looking at your analytics and everything, you understand that the most important thing you can look at is your conversion rate, is that your pages have conversions. Obviously, I have something weird going on. I don't know if this is true, if I actually have 100% conversion rate on the homepage. I don't think that's true. It's actually, the reason why this probably is because people are probably returning and then re-clicking the link. But, so I just need to set up a funnel or something for that. But the point I'm trying to make is that, again, if you're doing SEO for a client, you're doing marketing for a client, you're doing whatever for a client, and they have 0 opt-ins, they have 0 conversions, even if they're a local company. Like a lot of people are like, well, I have a plumbing company as the person that I'm working with, and all they care about is just getting phone calls, and I'm not going to get them some sort of opt-ins. It's like, why? Set up ManyChat or set up something on their website where people can message them, and then guess what? Now that person is getting all of the things, all the content that you're pushing out every day, and continually getting remarketed to, whether they're a cold lead, whether they're a person that's going to buy from them, or a person that was just price shopping, but now they're going to buy like a year later. So all these like huge bounce rates that you end up getting, like let's say 65%, you actually end up retaining a lot of these people later, because instead of them just bouncing, and if they can ask a question or text a number or some sort of opt-in, then you're going to keep a lot more of your traffic and get a lot more sales long term. And the best part is that you control your traffic. So what I look at mainly when I go into Search Console, I look at real time. Whenever I do a post, I'm sending traffic to my website. So obviously I'm just going to be looking at the live visitors. If you want to see if your conversions are firing or your events are firing, you can just go in here and see live how many people are actually firing once you send traffic over. But for the most part, I'm not looking at this stuff. What I'm usually looking at, I'll just show you the most important things, is I will be looking at the site content. So when I'm looking at the specific pages, I want to look at the, again, behavior, site content, landing pages where we just were. I want to look at the specific page bounce rate, the average session duration, the conversion rate. I want to see how the top pages are performing. All this other stuff like site speed, this is not very reliable. Site search, this is nice if you want to be able to see like what people are typing into your website. But a lot of this stuff is just like overkill. Like you don't need to have all these analytics. The 2 biggest places that I spend my time is the specific landing pages through the behavior I was telling you about, and I look at acquisition, all traffic source medium, and I'm just looking at how the different traffic sources are doing. So, how the organic traffic's converting versus the direct traffic versus the social traffic. That's really where I spend all my time in analytics. I know there's like these huge 15-hour courses on analytics where you start going into like checking the mobile devices and stuff. But I mean, you can quickly overview this, but for the most part, you're going to be able to tell if your site's not performing well pretty quickly without needing to go through all these crazy analytics. Like I'm not going to be spending my time trying to create a different mobile opt-in than I am for my desktop. Like usually if my opt-in rates are good, meaning they're like above 3%, which my opt-in rates are pretty high, that's all I really care about. Conversions, user metrics, like bounce rates, whatever. So are we all good on this stuff? Because like this isn't like a crash course on Google Analytics. This is just like a quick way to understand what's important to look at in here and why. Christopher got a 1. I will say once you started going into benchmarking and you start looking at once you understand the SEO audits, let's say you take the SEO program on how to make a full-time income doing SEO audits, you will see that it does get a little bit more complicated when you start benchmarking your individual pages, because then you start looking at a lot more stuff. Like, let me show you. So you got your keyword, the amount of clicks that keyword has, the impressions for that keyword, the click-through rate, the average position, the Google Analytics sessions, the Google Analytics conversion rate, the URL rating based on Ahrefs, the keyword difficulty for that keyword, the UR difference based on the keyword difficulty subtracted from the UR rating, the duplicate content percentage internally versus externally, the indexability. I mean, you just start going on and on, the crawl depth, the in-link count, pulled from Search Console, the word count. Like you start going into all kinds of stuff and you compare all of these metrics together. But when you're just going into Google Analytics, like I, for the most part, don't spend my time like, doing cohort analysis type stuff. Like I don't even know what this is. Like this is just too much in my opinion. But maybe some people benefit more from this. I just find that a lot of this ends up getting like to the point where you're just spending all your time looking at data instead of actually just like creating a strategy that's just based around content and building relationships. Good points. Things are not really needed in analytics. Cool. All right, so Search Console, same sort of thing. So when you go into Search Console, and again, we're going to tie this all into Screaming Frog right now because it makes it a lot easier when you see it all tied in. But when you go into Search Console, you'll actually see most important things: clicks, impressions, average click-through rate, average position. You just have all these turned on, and you can look at either your pages, your queries, or your pages. The only thing that you're really looking at here, like that's not technical, or that's really technical, is usually duplicate content related things. So if you have cannibalization happening, that's like the sort of the biggest thing you're going to find in Search Console, meaning that multiple pages are competing for the same keyword. That's usually because you have duplicate content going on. And by duplicate content, I mean you have a bunch of other pages with the same sort of content competing for the same keyword, so they're both showing up for the same thing. So if I click on, let's say, Chase Reiner, and I see that, all these different pages are competing for that same keyword, then, that might be a problem. But obviously it's not a problem for me because it's like, all the clicks are going to this page and I know these aren't duplicate content pages. Whereas if I, let's say, went for SEO audit checklist, and let's say the same description for this SEO audit checklist was everywhere else, then I'd be a little bit more worried. If I reset this here. So SEO roadmap template, you can see, sorry, I kind of messed up this. Hold on, let me go back. Keywords, click on SEO roadmap template, and then I go to pages. And so if there's duplicate content on the website, then there'll usually be multiple pages showing up. And a lot of websites have this. They'll be cannibalizing pages. So if you end up, making sure that the pages are unique, the pages will end up usually getting a boost. Now, as far as all these things that you need to look at, URL inspection, this is probably the second, the two most important things for Search Console is the performance and the URL inspection. The reason why the URL inspection is important is because once you put a page on your website, you're just going to want to index it. So you put the URL on here in the box up here whenever it's made, and you're going to, you're going to request for it to get indexed. So request indexing, whenever you change a page. So if you start doing SEO on a website, you start changing the content, that kind of stuff, first thing you're going to want to do once you change that page is go request indexing. Everything else in here, not super important. It doesn't really even matter if you have a sitemap or not. Obviously, if you have one, you're going to submit it. And I would recommend just putting it in there just so you can see if there's any issues with it. It just looks like some pages are 404'd. And then you have certain things like your inbox on security and manual actions. If you have a manual action on your website, you obviously want to check if there's a huge drop, you're going to go check there. But for the most part, a lot of this stuff is not very necessary. Now, what is necessary though is to have both. You want to have both Search Console and Analytics, because when you start integrating tools like Screaming Frog, which I will open here, when you start implementing tools like this is when it's important, because then you start doing the benchmarking. So if any of you guys watched the tutorial for phase 2, you'll see how to do this, which comes with the paid SEO template. But when you watch phase 2, you'll see that all of this stuff is pretty much attainable within Screaming Frog, just by having these things hooked up. And this is a way better way to do SEO than just to look at individual things in Analytics or Search Console, because when you tie everything together like this, then you have a whole story about what's going on. This is just one page. Look how much data I have for it. And that's not even doing the content audit on it yet either. So all you have to do, and you guys, if you watch phase 2, you'll see, you just hook up your Google Analytics, you hook up your Google Search Console, you hook up your Ahrefs if you have it, and then you pull basically all this information with the conditional formatting in the template, so it'll tell you if you're above or below certain averages. Is this like really straightforward for you guys, or is it complicated? Let me hear in chat where you guys are at right now. Straightforward, cool. Straightforward, sweet. Cool. Good. Tanya's on the same page. Okay. So going back to, sorry. Going back to the most important SEO tools and why they matter. The top SEO tools that you need, like ideally, is number one, it's your own mind. So obviously that's kind of dumb, but it is true. Like all the other SEO tools don't really matter compared to that. Like you don't even need SEO tools if you can just use your mind in terms of like all the stuff we talked about in this program so far. Second thing is, if you were to start doing SEO tools, is the free tools like Google Analytics and Google Search Console, so you can hook them up to something like Screaming Frog. And Screaming Frog. If you could just do these three tools, you'd be good to go. Like that's all you really need for SEO. But if you want the extra little boost, I'd do something like Ahrefs and sync it up with Screaming Frog and do all the stuff that we talked about in the phase 2 videos. Everything else, like that's pretty much it. Like you don't have to know really anything else. Like you don't need Quora, you don't need whatever else is out there. I know there's thousands of SEO tools. You don't need rank tracking. Here's a newsflash. For those of you who think you need rank tracking, if you want to check your ranks, you just benchmark every month. So like if we know authority hacking is a keyword that we're at 10.3 for, we just check it again next month in Search Console, and it'll tell us what position we're in, like to the day. Like it'll just tell us. So you don't, like a lot of the tools that are out there, you don't need. Like a lot of this stuff is really easy to do. So yeah, I mean, that's really all there is to tools. Like, I know this is a really basic tutorial where I was just kind of like telling you how much you didn't need this stuff, but really the whole point of this tutorial is just to kind of, give you guys an idea, like how insignificant a lot of this stuff is. I mean, analytics is important, and, being able to do this benchmarking and understand where you're at with these different pages is important, but the real reason why you want these things is not so that you can get like some sort of secret code. Like you don't want to go into an SEO tool and be like, oh, here's the secret keyword density you need to rank your page higher. Like that's not the way you want it. You're not looking at it like a little video game where it's like, oh, we just found the new cheat code, and like what you want to do is think about when I'm looking at data, when I'm looking at tool data for SEOs, for SEO or marketing. All you want to think about is how does this relate to people? So when you're looking at your conversion rate, you want to think about, okay, if I have a low opt-in rate for my thing that I'm giving away, why do people not like it? When I have a high bounce rate on this page or a low click-through rate and people aren't clicking on the title, why don't people click on it more? Or why are people bouncing? What does that have to do with my web design? Or what does that have to do with my page speed? So every time you're looking at this data, you always want to be asking yourself, how does this relate to a person? Not how does this relate to my ranking? So you want to change your mindset around that. One other thing that I told you guys I would cover is the keyword research, but I just realized like all of this stuff is covered in phase 2 and 3. So if you just watch these tutorials, once you have the paid template, which is in this program, you'll just already know how to do it. So I'm just gonna end it at that. All right, guys. So any questions about what we covered so far? Because that's pretty much the end to this shebang here. Whoops.
This might be a little bit, this is a bit further back about what you talked about. You talked about how important it is to niche down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, can you elaborate a little bit, like, do you have to niche down, is niching down, for example, let's say you're running an SEO agency or consultancy, is it enough to niche down locally, or do you want to pick a specific target audience, like, okay, I'm just going to work with restaurants, or I'm just going to work with this or that, right? So, yeah, tell me a little bit more about that.
You usually want to niche down to the thing that you have the most success in. So like if I would have been smart when I first started, I was ranking for computer repair, I was ranking for iPhone repair. It was all like around tech. So
Right.
if I would have niched down and been like, hey, I'm the tech SEO guy, I would have gotten way more clients, way more sales early on.
Okay.
Whereas, you know, if you're just like, oh, I do SEO for local businesses and national and e-commerce, and everybody you're helping is like, you know, all over the place, and maybe you have one case study from somebody that you helped like 3 months ago, and then they dropped off because they like see that you're all over the place, and then all your case studies are non-existent, so you can't really promote that to new customers that are going to hopefully want to buy from you. Like if I wanted to sell my SEO coaching to somebody, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to point to the other person that was successful that I helped. Right? Because like
Right.
people don't care about like what you know, they care about what you do. So like if you're helping people and you're able to prove that something you're doing is working, people are going to be way more concerned about that than they're going to be concerned about what you're saying.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that's why it's so important to niche down if you can, because you know you are able to show more of what you do by focusing on what you do. Like let's say, you know, tomorrow I was like, hey, could you help me build a webinar? And you're like, well, I do SEO, I don't really build webinars. I'm like, hey, I'll give you $500. And you're like, well, you know, I kind of need the money. Well, you're wasting like however long that's going to take on building a case study that's actually relevant to you. Because if you go in and try to buy something from somebody and they go, oh, well, the last 3 months, you know, I did a webinar, I did PPC ads, I did SEO, I did social media, you're not going to want to buy from that person. You're like, okay, well, whereas if you're like, hey, I specifically need a webinar and this guy's purposely skilled in this, he only has case studies around this, he knows the exact pricing, he has the template, has all that stuff, you're going to be like, dude, this is the guy, right?
Right. So one thing that I've struggled with that is, so let's say, for sake of example, you pick, you want to target restaurants with your SEO, right? So when it comes to client acquisition, the thing that I find the hardest is that it's very hard to build content when you niche down that deep. So for example, if you're doing SEO for restaurants, there's only so many videos and blog posts you can make about restaurant SEO, for example.
Right.
So how do you...
Then you target shoulder niches. So this is what Brian Dean does really well.
What was that? Can you repeat that? I missed that.
You target
what?
shoulder niches. So like let's say you're in the let me do pink. Let's say you're in the industry of what was it again? It was restaurant SEO.
Yeah, sure.
Probably spelled that wrong. So what you're gonna do is then you're gonna go like this. Oops. And you're going to figure out strategies that are working with anything that has to do with marketing for restaurants, anything that has to do with SEO for has to do with SEO marketing, and then you're going to tie that back into your main theme. So like let's say for me, mine's like SEO coaching. So same sort of deal, SEO coaching. So what am I going to do? I'm going to break it down. I'm going to go, okay, let me find out content strategies that's going to work for anything that has to do with SEO marketing, anything that has to do with coaching for people, whether it's in the gym, whether it's, you know, meditation, whatever it is. And then I'm going to try to combine that into a strategy for what my actual topic is. Right? So I'm going to take principles that are working for gyms and I'm going to apply it to something that's also going to be working for SEO. The point I'm trying to make here is like you want to figure out not just your main topic, because you're going to be niched down. You're only going to have like 2 people to compare what you're doing to. Whereas if you have a couple topics that you know revolve around your main topic, then it's easier to start incorporating a more general approach into something specific that you're doing.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, man. That was super helpful.
No worries. Any other questions, guys?
Colors for me.
Anybody want to raise their hands? Wish I knew how to raise my hand. Will there be a replay? No. Well, yeah, it's in the program, but... All right, well, if there's no other questions, I'm probably going to head out. But thank you all for joining, and hopefully we'll see you all very soon. And send me a message if you guys have any questions or anything. Also, feel free, any of you guys, please, seriously, give me a call. I usually have a couple minutes for anybody who has a question, because I know a lot of people are a little bit afraid to ask sometimes on these live things. So my number here is 805-453-3586. Unless you're out of the country, please don't call me, just because I don't want to get a $160 phone bill like I did last month for that. But if you are in the country in the U.S., give me a call. Otherwise, if you're out of the country, just send me an email or something. It's im@chaserenner.com. And thank you all for joining me today. Hopefully we'll see you all very soon. And happy SEOing, happy marketing, and we'll see you next time, guys.
Thanks, Chase.
You got it. Bye.
Thanks, Chase.